Hi, this is Jolen Philbrook, and today we have a wonderful guest on the Inner Abundant Mindset podcast. She has fabulous information to share with us about chakras and becoming in alignment and how our mindset and prosperity work with our chakras. So I'm really curious all this information she has to share with us. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Cheryl Blossom, and she's a Reiki master teacher with a master's in psychology and a doctorate of divinity. She's the founder of the Healing Center, the Blossom Institute. And she worked with Patsy Ramsey, whose daughter was a beauty pageant and was killed on Christmas Eve. And she's also stayed in one of England's castles while working with some of the royal family. She's published over 5 books, and one of them is a New York bestseller. Welcome, Cheryl. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. Yes,
wow, you have an interesting history. I mean, you go from psychology to divinity, you open a center. Yes. Wow. And so you were a therapist for many years, like
35 plus, yes.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So how do you go from therapist to working with chakras?
Well, I was in a car wreck and I broke my neck. And when I came to, I was in the hospital and I had feathers all over my face and down my throat. And I thought, oh, have I died? And I heard a nurse cursing, saying, we had to cut off her down coat and there's feathers everywhere. And then I noticed I was going further and further and further away from the conversation, and the noise of moving that fast was just buzzing through my head. It was exhilarating. And then I just popped into this place of complete tranquility.
Wow.
Peace, quiet. And as I was floating there, I looked down and I saw myself a long, long, long way away in an operating room going, if that's me down there, then who is this up here? And if this is me up here, who's that down there? I had an amazing realization or a revelation that I was more than my physical body. And from that point, all of a sudden, light beings started to show up and educating me about how we're designed as human form through the chakra system, which is an ancient knowledge that our Western world doesn't have available to us necessarily, but it really is an ancient knowing about how we're designed as humans and how to operate within this design in such a way that we can really pinpoint healing. So in my therapy, I started to use it. So people would come in and I could see, oh, they're not in their first chakra, they're not grounded, they don't have any stability, they're running a lot of fear, or they're not in their communication channels, that they're not communicating, or they're listening for some particular outcome, or they're not in their power center. So I could really isolate, pinpoint, and go straight to providing them healing.
Wow, that's fabulous. And just to touch a little bit back on your story, when you're lying on the operating table and there's feathers all over you, what feathers mean to me, and they're little tiny down feathers.
Yes.
I believe in angels, and every time I find a little tiny feather on the sidewalk or somewhere, I'm always like grateful, because I'm like, oh, the angels were with me. So when you said that, I'm thinking, oh, you were protected.
Yes, I definitely had a flash that, either I was an angel or there were angels around, for sure. Yes.
Yeah. And so then you had also what people call an outer body or near-death experience.
Yes, I definitely had that on my body, and yes, near death. Huge education, huge education.
Right. That is amazing. And so what chakra do you think is the most important chakra? Because we have a lot of them, and the Western world knows about what the normal 7, right?
Yes. There's actually 12. Well, there's actually more than that, but the 12 basic ones.
Yes.
So when we're talking about an inner abundance place, I mean, all the chakras are important, obviously, and we want alignment and the ability to work through them. But if one is wanting to have the experience of abundance, it's the heart chakra where we are connected and we're at peace. So the heart chakra, the blood moving through our body is connecting all of our cells in our body. Our breath that is coming through the lungs, which is also in the heart chakra, is connecting us to our spirit and the ethers and each other, the outside, external world. So the heart chakra really is about connection. When we're connected, when we're in that place of peace in presence, we're in the feeling of abundance because we just sense all is well.
Yes. And the heart chakra, in my opinion, has so many valuable things because we fall in love and life is wonderful. And then we break up with somebody and our heart gets broken and then we shut down and we can't figure out why life isn't working, right?
Absolutely. It's where our breast is for feeding babies. It's where, when we hug, it's where we connect.
Yes.
So our heart chakra really is all about connection and this energy that we call love.
Now, you may not know this, but I went through a custody suit with no income and breast cancer, and a year later, kidney cancer. So in this episode of being in the hospital a lot, I started doing a impersonal survey, and I'd ask these women, did something happen a year and a half to 2 years before the breast cancer? And they all went through a divorce except one whose brother died. And so what can you tell us? Because I know from my experience and what I uncovered, that when we shut off our heart chakra, we're really doing more damage to ourselves than our health. And, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, we're like a big amoeba, if you will. We go towards pleasure and we go away from pain. So when we have a lot of pain, we take the energy out of the heart chakra, which is when there's not a lot of energy running into a system, it kind of runs amok. I mean, cancer, something happens to actually bring our awareness to that area so that we bring more energy, which you did by healing yourself and bringing more awareness to your heart chakra. People who don't, if they keep going away, at some point they would just exit their physical structure. So one of the keys to bringing energy into the heart chakra is breath. And if you look at all of the spiritual and religious history that we have as human beings, there's always something about breath. There's always something about breathing.
Yeah.
And there's a gazillion different ways that you can expand your breathing or work with your breath, work with breathing. But it's critical for us to pay attention to the breath, because when we pay attention, we fill up our lungs, we're present to our heart chakra. And then, of course, then there's the place where we don't want to feel the pain. And the thing to do is to go through the minefield of the pain, which will allow for the healing.
Yeah. And, brought me to mind when we're talking about breath, the first thing they teach you in basic meditation, focus on your breath, in and out, in and out.
Yes. And noticing where we're not breathing, where, we're stopped in breathing. And, there's a really cool technique that I use, that moves from the physical plane to the mental plane, because they're actually two bodies of awareness that we have available to us. In the physical plane, if we pay attention to how deep down into the lungs the breath goes, or how much do we fill up our back with our breath, how much do we fill up the front or underneath our armpits, can travel around in your lungs. And then with every breath out, you find some place you're holding on in your physical structure and you let go. So it's a pretty easy way to get people to start with their breath, because sometimes when it's like you count to 5 or you have to pay attention to your breath, people are like, I lost it. My mind came in and I lost it. So that's the physical part. Then you can translate that into the mental aspect so that you breathe in everything that you're looking to have more connection with. So if it's abundance, you breathe in that feeling of abundance. If it's abundance of love that you're looking for, you breathe in love. If it's abundance of money, you breathe in money. You renew every one of your cells with whatever it is that you want to breathe in. And when you breathe out gratitude. So there's two different cycles here, that you start with the physical and then you move into the mental body. And that actually takes you out into your aura more. And it holds congruency for all of it.
Wow, that's impressive. I'm going to have to practice that.
Yeah. It's really fun. It's easy. It's one of the things that I discovered that I could actually teach quickly. People coming in to see me, so they wouldn't have to be 3,000 years later. They actually get a sense of, it can be quick and it can be easy. 10 minutes, and people transform their lives basically.
Wow. Now I'm kind of curious, because I always think if we're in financial problems like debt, that our first chakra is the one that we need to work on, because that's survival. But from our conversation, I'm hearing our heart is more for wholeness and abundance. So do we work on both the first chakra, the grounding one, and the heart, or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, I would start, if somebody was really interested in diving into this deeper, definitely I would go to the first chakra. First chakra can be more of a challenge for people, because it really is about how grounded we are. And if life is not feeling really comfortable, people are scared a lot, they bounce into their first chakra and bang, go right out. They're like, no, not hanging out here. Because that is the chakra where fear kind of bubbles up. If you've ever been scared, spook scared, you can feel that it starts at the base of the tailbone and the energy just goes whoop right up through the top of your head. So
interesting.
It's like it opens up every chakra to try to figure out how to survive. Since it is the survival chakra, it's not usually the one I start with. However, there are some really cool grounding techniques that are pretty easy. One is to imagine one's tailbone with your mind's eye and see, is it curled underneath like a scared dog? If you see a dog that's really running a lot of fear, it's got its tail curled underneath. Well, we have a tail too. It's our tailbone. And if it's chronically curled under, or if we can, with our mind's eye, notice, where's my tailbone? We can start to drive it down into the earth like a taproot.
Yes.
And then we're a tripod. Instead of being bipedal, like 2 feet, and whatever energy's coming at us, we need to respond to.
Right.
We have a third energy point. So whatever's coming at us, we're much more stable. So I have people work with imagining this long taproot coming out of their tailbone, and then also roots coming out of their feet. So that if you're losing your keys, or you're smacking into the walls, or, you're like, scattered, really great idea to send roots from your feet down into the earth. Think about your tailbone, send that grounding cord, and become a tripod.
That is so funny you said that, because I go, my routine in the morning is I get up, I turn on the coffee maker, and if I try to do dishes, I actually drop them. And I say to myself, I have to meditate before I do anything. And I'll go sit down and I'll get centered, and I just woke up. But I have to sit and meditate in the morning and get back into my body.
Yeah.
And I did not realize that I'm naturally grounding myself and getting back into my body. And then I can go and I'm coordinated. But in the morning, if I don't meditate, I drop things all day long. I'm just off. It's the weirdest thing. So wow, I didn't know I did that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you have that innate knowingness, which is great. Somebody else would just be going, God, I'm a klutz, or whatever they would say to themselves,
Right.
instead of realizing, oh, wait a minute, no, this is really time for me to really fully embody. Um, the other thing to imagine in the first chakra is that whole sacrum area is, it's like this flat bone. It's a bunch of bones, but it's, like this flat area. If we can imagine it being like we can sink back onto it like a ski lift, that we will start to feel the guidance and the support for moving forward. That way, when we move forward, if we're imagining our life from a ski lift point of view, we're higher than all of the things that are occurring in our universe. So we're seeing a bigger picture about what is occurring, where to move next, what to do. Plus, we will feel that we're just held and supported and moved forward. It's a really great way, because a lot of times what happens is we get our energy way out in front of us, and then we're pulling ourselves.
Yeah.
And irritated and frustrated and so on and so forth. This way we get our energy behind us, and we can just relax into it and know that we're supported and moving forward.
Oh, I love that, because we all need to feel supported no matter what we're doing in life, especially if we're learning something new.
Yes.
I know. So what kind of tips can you give our listeners for building a inner abundant mindset?
Well, some of the tips that I've given you so far is really breath. Take 5 minutes. If you're stuck in traffic, exactly.
All day.
If you got something going on that is frustrating, instead of staying in the mental loop, which is, so we have these different bodies of awareness. We have our physical self.
Yes.
And that has its own language, which is feelings. And then we move out into the emotional body, which basically starts to describe those feelings as mood. It's like, I've got this feeling, oh, it must mean that I'm irritated, or it must mean X, Y, and Z. So we fill in the feeling states from the body in our emotionals. And then we move into the mental constructs, which is always looking for, well, why do I have this mood? It's someone else's fault, or this happened, or that happened. That locks in a whole scenario of reality that then we filter world through.
Yes.
So the best tip that I can give people is to actually start noticing, where is my awareness? Am I actually feeling inside my physical body? Or am I writing a scenario about I'm in a mood, like I'm angry, or I'm happy, or it doesn't matter, whatever the description is that takes us one step away from being in the physical? Or am I all the way out into the mental, like really looking for the cause of my experience? My recommendation, if you're looking for the cause of your experience, like why do I feel X, Y, and Z, switch that conversation to where in my body is the sensation, because that's the beginning of the wave that creates our world, or creates our filter, or creates our reality. And it's pre-verbal. If you look at children, they're having physical experiences that then they learn how to verbalize, and then they learn how to storyize, and so on and so forth. We are so out here in the story about what's occurring, is we're no longer back here at the beginning. So if we can move ourselves back into the physical sensation and go, where in my body? Oh, it's my heart. My chest, it's like I'm all pulled, my heart's all pulled back, or I feel a band around it. And then you work there. You bring breath, you bring love, you bring light there, and the whole thing will just turn around.
Wow. That's very important.
Yes.
And also you could do that for your back. What I learned is, I thought, which is silly because I learned maybe not the correct way, but I learned there's chakras on the front. Nobody told me there's chakras down the back. So it's like, wow, my back's hurting behind my my heart, what's happening? I got this pain between my shoulder blades.
Yeah.
Not knowing that the back chakra needs to be opened and cleansed and healed also along with the front.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We
So
start thinking we're segmented beings when we're actually whole.
right. So you can take the breath and move it to your back, because a lot of people have back pain.
Yeah. 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 And when people come to me and they have back pain, then I actually scan to see where, as if it's really in the lower part of the back. It's all about not feeling supported. If it's in the middle part of the back, it's not being able to laser focus one's desires, so that because that's the third chakra. It's like our second chakra is all about desires. The first chakra is about stability. Then we're here, it's like, woohoo, I want adventure. I want, I desire. That's the second chakra. And then we get creative about what we desire. We kick that energy up into the third chakra, which is then we laser focus to actually manifest the desire, or not, as the case may be, if we don't feel like we can. And then if we want our heart connected to that too, so that we have more experience of love out of our power. And then we move up into, of course, our communication channels. What are we listening for? What are we listening to? What are we speaking? Then we go into the sixth chakra, which is the third eye area of visualization and intuition. And the crown is all about our connection to our higher self. And then the eighth is all about life purpose. The ninth, which is above that, is all about all of our lives, our thread, the Akashic records, the files there. That's what psychic readers read. They go up to the, that chakra. And then the 10th is the bottom of our egg shape, which is really our connection. When we say we're connecting to the earth, we're actually connecting to this plane, this field of existence. And then the 11th is our light body, which is our hands for healing. If you bump your head, you put your hand on it immediately. It's like you're healing. Or mothers to little children, if they hurt themselves, they put their hands on them. We just automatically know that this is the light body. And then the 12th is the egg, and it's all the layers of our aura and bodies of understanding, bodies of knowledge. And
there's quite a few layers to an aura too. Wasn't there there's 12 or?
As far as we know, and it could go on, as far as we've been able to identify, there's the etheric, which is basically the blueprint of what's about to manifest. And then we have the emotional body. And then we have the mental body. So the mental body is a couple layers out. And then we have our karmic body. And then we have our God spirit body, and you can just keep going. It's all ways that we can access information. The striated things are like our chakras are ways we can access information.
Isn't that fascinating? I just love learning about all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then always you think, wow, I've been doing that naturally. How come? I don't know. It's a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed when I started to add this body of knowledge to the therapy work that I was doing, things just moved fast. It was amazing. And I didn't have to tell people, okay, we're going to work on chakras now, because, I didn't want to panic some of the people that I had coming to me, but I could just zero in on what the issue was. It is, and have people transform it immediately.
So did you talk about chakras, or did you just talk about the problem and how they could transform it?
It depended on the person.
Yes.
Some people were wide open and it was great. They really appreciated the knowledge. Some people, it would have just sent them deep into their head and had them go, what?
Yeah. Like, what's a chakra?
And it would take away from the work we were doing, like the suggestions of things to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow. This has been so fascinating. I love having conversations like this. This is like my dream come true. but we are, I know, but we're on a limited amount of time. So if our listeners wanted to learn more about you, how do they find you? And do you have a gift for them?
Yes, I do. So if they go to my website, blossomingwisdom.com, they can take a quiz to see how aligned their chakras are. And I have a free book there called Chakra Wisdom. How aligned are your chakras?
Oh, I should do that after this.
Yeah, you can read all about, what the chakras are and what's being out of alignment in a particular chakra, and some techniques and tools to use to actually get in alignment. Then I also have a program it's every month we go through a different chakra. So, we'll go through the first chakra around stability and foundation. Second chakra is all about creativity and passion. Third chakra is all about power, and so on and so forth. So it's a year-long program, but people can come in at any point. They can come in, like they may start with us working on the power center, and then we, can move on. So if people are interested in this, being part of this group that is the year-long transforming your life through the chakras, they can email me, and I can send them information. And my email address is Cheryl, Cheryl, at blossomingwisdom.com.
Oh, that sounds fabulous. I would, that sounds like it's right up my alley.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a great group of people. People are having miracles, and I'm super excited because I just see that this information is, especially in this time that we find ourselves, it's really valuable information for people to have a grip on life and what they're doing and how to do it and how to move forward and be at peace and all that.
Yeah, that's exciting. So do you have one tip that you can leave our listeners with today that they can actually put into action? I know.
What?
I remember breathing.
Yeah.
No.
That was the one I was going to say. Breath. You can do that anywhere. You don't have to be weird about it. You don't have to close your eyes. You can do it anywhere at any time. And you can notice, wow, am I breathing shallow? Because the more shallow we breathe, the more it lights up the anxiety. It changes the whole nervous system. So if we're breathing really shallow and then we're having anxiety, or we're wondering how come I'm feeling, disassociated and kind of weird, chances are you've been breathing in such a way that you're not getting enough oxygen, your whole nervous system has changed, and mentally it's going to affect you. So take a minute just to breathe deep.
And let the tension go.
Especially around the jaw. People think about their arms and their shoulders, but they don't necessarily think about the jaw. If you let go of the jaw, it's amazing, because the jaw is part energetically. We lock the jaw when we're really little, and we're defiant, or we're like, we're trying to control our world. Where the control happens is in locking the jaw. So if you find yourself locking your jaw, just give it a good loosen up so that you can just be more present.
Oh, you wiggle it back and forth instead of open it up and down.
Either one. Or allow the tongue to be really fat in the bottom of the.
How do you do that? Make a fat tongue.
Yeah, well, you can't talk. You can't talk to that. You have to be quiet. But it's just a thinking fat tongue, heavy in the bottom of your jaw will release. Yeah.
That's funny. We're learning all kinds of new things. How fun is this?
Yeah.
Well, I have really enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been really fun. You could tell I just love this. I love this. Yeah.
Me too. So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.